Welcome to the Bernie Kosar Show, featuring the Cleveland legend himself, Bernie Kosar, alongside the top dog, Hanford Dixon. Welcome back, guys. I did not get traded away. I'm Gabriela Cruz. At the trade deadline.
We didn't trade you at the trade deadline.
Hey, she barely missed it because she was almost gone. Yeah. She's got a lot of people where the conversation was in and they wanted her, but she's stuck around.
There wasn't enough fair draft compensation to give up our awesome producer.
She's too expensive. That's the problem. I mean,
I just needed a vacation. Who doesn't need a break from these crazy guys in here? We got Big Play Dave in the house. No need, speaking of crazy guys, for Angry Ken today, because nothing to be angry about.
Can we get a round of applause for that? No Angry Ken. No angry
Ken. The CTE headaches. The headaches won't be as bad. We won't be getting yelled at, and I guess we don't have to be angry having a bye week here and getting a win before the bye week. And not that we're happy being 3-5 at the halfway point.
And we can say what we want to say about him because he's not here. But you know what?
We are talking behind his back.
God damn it! I'm glad he's not here because his attitude is just so mean, and I mean it's crazy. Angry Ken.
We are here to bear positiveness.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
And
That's right.
We want to look at things from the positive perspective. So, like we were saying, we're not exactly festive to be 3-5, but we want to be positive. So it's a hell of a lot better than being 2-6 like we anticipated a couple weeks ago.
Well, the thing that I look at it when you look at this AFC North, I mean, with our record, even though we're 3-5. I mean, no one has really pretty much ran away with it yet. Obviously, we got Baltimore's got a big game tonight. They're 5-3, and they're playing the Saints. But the good thing is, looking at the New Orleans Saints, they need this game, BK, because when you look at their division, they're right there. And especially if they get a win tonight, beat the Baltimore Ravens, things look much better for them right now. So there's a possibility that they can take these Baltimore Ravens out. And after speaking with Ozzy about this game, trust me, they're not taking it lightly. They are a little bit worried about those Saints right now.
Yeah, Oz is justifiably so. He's been around long enough. A Hall of Fame member as a player. He should be another Hall of Famer as an executive. And he knows that we don't take games for granted in this league and stuff. And just like we've said now multiple times in this opening drive, that we're not happy being 3-5. But if you go around the league with 32 teams in the league, there's probably 25 to almost 30 teams that feel they're right on the cusp of things, on the cusp of success, and feel like that they haven't played up to their expectations. So the parity within the NFL is really amazing. We say that basically year in and year out. But again, to be 3-5, to not be where we want to be, but still to have playoff aspirations is significantly better than what it appeared to be a week or two ago.
And we will take a look at your first half of the season thoughts. Let's get into our opening drive.
Sounds good. Bring it on.
Okay, fellas, how about giving us your overall thoughts, or you could grade players on the first 8 games. What are you thinking?
Well, I think when you look at it, and I'll jump on this first. When you look at it, I thought we started the season off pretty good. I thought we started it off strong. We had a lot of promise, and the promise is still there. But Jacoby played well, and I think overall the whole team played well. But we went on that losing streak. I think we lost like 4 games in a row, and I thought that really hurt us. The good thing is in the memory bank of all the players going into the bye week, they have a memory of a win. They have a memory of the team playing a complete ball game in all 3 phases of the game, offensively, defensively, and special teams. And
that'll be fresh in their head from this past game. Good point.
You are right on it. It's going to be fresh in their head. But again, I just said it a little while ago. We're in the AFC North. And BK, we still have a shot in the AFC North.
Yeah, if you'd have said, like we did before the season, that so much of the focus was on our W's and L's were going to be so predicated on how our quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, did. And Jacoby Brissett in the first half of the year he's had a few mistakes, and we could point to those 2 or 3 mistakes at the
Play
end
well,
of a couple games. But by and large, Jacoby Brissett has played exceptionally well in comparison to what we expected him to do in this first half. To have him playing at the level of offense that he's playing, we're the 5th highest rated offense in the league, averaging 385 yards a game, 25.7 points a game, 5th in the NFL. If you'd have said that's what we would have had with Jacoby starting our first 8 games of the year, we absolutely would have taken that. The surprising thing has been the way our defense has not been able to dominate itself. And I love how you just said we finally had a great complimentary football game this past week against the Cincinnati Bengals. Hopefully that resonates within our minds, and that is what we have coming out forward, because defensively, so much has been talked about the dominance that we anticipated coming into the season, and then for our defense to really struggle stopping the run has been telling this first half of the year.
Well, BK, you know I'm old school.
And I'm not trying to dog it because you're a defensive guy. No. I'm not trying to cast pointy arrows somewhere else.
No. What I was going to say is I'm old school, and if you notice when I explained it, I said all 3 phases: offensive, defensively, and special teams. But I hate that word. Not that the word you describe it, because everybody, which is fine, and it's both of them means the same thing, but everybody want to say it all the time. All the time they talk about the way they play football. I say it's all 3 phases, and you say it is what football?
Complementary football.
Right.
All 3 phases.
Right. But we have to. We got a big game coming up, and we're going to get into all that. But through these first 8 games, I think Jacoby's just got to hold on a little bit longer, because the thing that I like right now, and people can say what they want to say about all the coaches, he's getting all the coaching from all the coaches, but I think it's just a great big deal right now that Deshaun is in the building, and he can communicate with Jacoby right now. Even though he can't play, he still can, with Brissett, he still can communicate with him, and I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, it'll help, I think, the transition, getting Deshaun ready to come and play. I mean, look at Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
The last 2 games, he's only had 10 incompletions.
Yeah.
We talked about this on the podcast last week. 2 of them he threw away, and 1 was a clock play, a spike play. So he's really only had 7 incompletions in the last 2 football games. He's thrown for 1,862 yards. He had his highest quarterback rating, 133.7 against the Bengals last week. He's really coming into his own. We talked about this a little bit on the podcast. I love how he said that on the touchdown run that he had last week, how he said it almost reminded him of the Chargers game, and that the game is slowing down for him. You know, his escapability in the pocket's been amazing too. He's rushed for almost 150 yards, but more so than his rushing yards, he's being able to escape sacks and stuff. And that ability for him to be resourceful within the pockets has been impressive.
Guys, what about the coaching? So you look at Stefanski early on this year. People on the internet were ripping his gameplay, his calls, his trick plays, what have you. After Cincinnati game, I think a lot of that has subsided. How do you think Kevin Stefanski's done so far this year?
I think he's doing okay. Let me say this: I'm not ready to get rid of him. I don't think he deserved to be fired or let go or anything like that, because a couple years ago or something like that, he was coach of the year in the NFL. And sure, I think he'll go back. He'll look at that play list and he'll say there's some things that he wished he'd have done a lot better. But players are not the only one.
And that's part of him taking the sword for us too. That's a good leader, and not necessarily always being wrong, but yet taking the blame, sitting up here in front of the cameras and saying that was my fault when it really wasn't.
And players are not the only one that's going to take this bye week and reassess, their play and everything. Stefanski and his coaching staff, they're going to do the same thing with themselves. What could we have done better? What plays? How can we make a better game plan for these guys?
As players, we talked last week that we self-assess ourselves, and this past week we're talking about Coach Stefanski. In the bye weeks, the coach do self-scouting of themselves.
Yeah.
They will look at their own down and distance breakdowns, their own play calling characteristics to see if they have broken their tendencies or created tendencies that other coaches are going to be paying attention to. And this NFL is what have you done for me lately? I mean, we saw this week that Frank Wright, a phenomenal coach, got fired with the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, this is a tricky, tough business there, where nobody, I think, would have believed that Frank Wright would have been fired at the beginning of the year. So Coach Stefanski, he's done a better job than people understand.
And I'll say this before we move on to the next one. A lot of people think that just because it's a bye week, these coaches maybe jet off to some island or something. Not happening. These guys are working harder now.
In the collective bargaining agreement, our NFLPA has done an enormously better job of getting rest and rehab time and relaxing time for the players and stuff. And the players got a well-deserved time off last week. The coaches do not have a union. They do not get time off. They know they're under the gun.
Yeah.
They were in the building. They were self-scouting themselves all last week. And somewhat to your point, Dave, you're asking about sometimes coming up with too many gimmicky plays and getting away from the basics. Actually, sometimes coaches have too much time on their hands in bye weeks and sometimes get a little too creative in some of the trick plays. And one of the things that I think is super clear about us in the first half of the year, just like our awesome city, Cleveland, we're a meat and potatoes. We're a blocking and tackling type city. We're a blocking and tackling type team. We're physical. I love on the offense and defensive side of the ball. We have according to Pro Football Focus, we have the highest rated defensive lineman, Myles Garrett. In the NFL, we have the highest rated offensive lineman, Joel Bitonio. In the NFL, we have the number one, to me, running game in the NFL. We need to physically, in the second half of the year, be simplistic and physically go after people. And sometimes coaches get a little too much time with free time to get a little too creative. And just like we said in the podcast last week, I'm not jumping on Coach Stefanski for that Amari Cooper pass because we were so dominant against the Bengals. And it's great to be able to kind of maybe come up with some gimmicky plays that don't work in an awesome victory like that, so we can laugh about it.
Well, yeah, to go along with that, are there any personnel groups or formations that you expect to see in the second half? More Hunt and Chubb together, maybe?
Or any more Wildcat?
Well, you know what? We saw the Wildcat with Nick Chubb scoring. The Cleveland Browns used 13 personnel as much as anybody in the league. 1 receiver, 3 tight ends, 1 back. With Chief David Njoku being hurt and us not carrying as many tight ends as we usually do. Farrell Brown has been in the concussion protocol. So personnel groups, which is with the use of tight ends, is one of Coach Stefanski's sweet spots, the way he could use the personnel groups, motion, and shift with that. With the tight ends, and specifically David Njoku, Chief, having a career Pro Bowl, all-pro type year, having that high ankle sprain. We have to be a little more creative, I think, in the personnel groups without the tight ends there. And you saw it against the Bengals using 7 and 8 offensive linemen to really stone them in the running game. Yeah, I'd like to. I've been one of the disciples. I'm going back, top dog, to our old school days of the Cleveland Browns and the original dog pound with Ernest Biner and Kevin Mack. So I love the multiple backs on the field. I love that Kareem Hunt was not traded, and I love weapons like that. So maybe in the second half of the year, with tight ends being thin this year with injuries and thin in the personnel room, of that, I'd maybe like to see more of the personnel with the running backs. And
Hanford, real quickly on the offensive or the defensive side of the ball, Joe Woods, we talked about a guy under fire, Stefanski. That Joe Woods, way more than Kevin Stefanski on the internet. Do you think he builds off of that momentum from Cincinnati?
I think so. I hope so, and I think so. And Joe Woods again. He's another guy. I'm not big on seeing coaches getting fired during the season.
It almost never works.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not going to work in Indianapolis. They're not going to the playoffs.
Yeah, I just think that's crazy. I think that's crazy to fire a coach in the middle of the season, and you hired him to do a job. At least let him finish that job. And Joe Woods, I thought he had an excellent scheme the last ball game, and I think what he'll do is he'll come back and he'll use more of that scheme. What I mean by simplifying the defense. Don't make them have to think so much out there, and use a lot of coverage where the defensive backs and the corners could be really, really aggressive within that first 18 yards, knowing that they have a safety over top to help them out. And he's been blitzing a little bit, but still at some point you got to send them. The corners, they got to earn their money. They have to be on their own. But I like the last scheme that he came up with for this last ball game, and hopefully we'll see a little bit more of that coming out in the second half.
Speaking of the defense, we've had a lot of injuries on defense. JOK, Miles, Clowney, Ward. I know people have been on Ward for missing time, but he's dealing with a concussion. Hopefully this bye week people have gotten that R&R, that rest and recovery, but we are going to take a look at Bernie. You've had plenty of injuries in your career.
Wow.
Let's take a look.
I better drink my CBD juice.
You need more than that. Look at that. You never wanted me to play golf. I love the double cast on the hands and stuff. I had broken hands.
Yeah, put that back
up. You want some more of it?
I would say all we have to do is take a look at you, and you know why we're not going to ask you.
Let me just say, think about certain bodily functions you have to do. You have 2 casts on your hands, okay, and you can't use those fingers, okay?
Right. So Bernie, tell us about some of your major injuries throughout your career.
As I say the joke a lot. Wow.
Bernie, not to cut you off here, but look at that graphic.
Wow.
Okay, so we got the picture. We got the headshot before the concussions and stuff there, But, I say this for what's a surgery, what's a procedure, what's a completely broken bone, what's a cracked bone, what's a torn ACL and a torn ligament, and what's a partially torn ligament. It's really gray on some of these. But I say I've had almost 40 surgeries, 80 some broken bones. I have listed up there like 22 concussions. But, top dog, you remember in the old days when we did this, concussions were really talked about differently. That was when you were unconscious on the field. So, we didn't count things like seeing stars, or being lightheaded, or being wobbly. If you're able to stand up, that didn't count as a concussion. We know now, that those are subconcussive blows. And I don't say that to be cool or anything for the young kids out there, for the young mothers and parents. You don't want to be letting your kids, suffer through those type things. But to have those type of injuries, starting down with the broken toes and ankles, the knees. Heck, just like we have cell phones and technology that has gotten better that we didn't have in the 80s, like medicine has too. But as I'm looking at some of those surgeries aren't just all from football. And like I look at the one of like the partial hip bone removed and transplanted. They say in the left ankle. It's really, they took part of, for the first surgery I ever had, I broke my ankle. I broke my ankle at a Monday night game. And they had this new type of surgery where they're going to take a part of your hip out, okay, and they do hip surgery to take the hip out to transplant it into the ankle to help the ankle grow and stuff. So now, instead of just having a screwed up ankle, you have a screwed up ankle.
What was your reaction to that when they recommended that?
See, that's where I'm a trusting soul, okay? I was a finance major, okay? I wasn't a medical. That's kind of why I'm a YouTube doctor these days. I had to do this medicine myself, but and I'm thinking about that as even as I keep looking back at the concussions, the cracked jaw has the broken nose, the broken jaw.
What are the hardest to play through? Which injuries?
Well, you know what?
All of 'em.
The stuff in the head, like I did not, I used to audible a lot. So back then, I did not wear a mouthpiece. Young kids, wear your mouthpiece. I was not cool. It was a massive mistake. Hockey players don't have their front teeth from losing it. Quarterbacks in the 80s who didn't wear their mouthpiece. I don't have my back teeth.
Yeah.
So you'd get hit from the helmet underneath here. And you would end up cracking your jaw and cracking it right underneath your ears and stuff. So you could make that stuff, but all your back teeth would get knocked out and stuff.
I'm looking there, and the thing that really got me is the 22 known concussion. So if you had 22 that you knew about, trust me, there are a lot more on there that we're not.
Oh no, I know. I mean, heck, we're saying like with this helmet right here. Like this, that was actually a real helmet of mine from the 1980s, and they refinish it and stuff. And as I
Gab, zoom in on that.
Yeah, so like and it's not an excuse to show the Super Bowl ring and stuff, but like they refinish it every week and stuff. But if you looked really close, you could see scratches here that right here on the sides and stuff. And if you piece together the PET scans and stuff that you would do, so this is the right front of your helmet, and you piece together like the PET scans and the brain scans that you've had to have done with all the bleeding and issues and seizures. I've had, besides the over the 100 concussions, I've had like 15 seizures. My last couple seizures, I was in a coma for 72 and 96 hours.
Well, that's serious.
And when you diagnosed 4 years ago with 5 years left of cognitive brain function to be almost pre-dementia and stuff. But when you look at this helmet here, and you look at the PET scans and you see all the scrapes and broken spots here, the right front of your brain is where it's the cognitive part for short-term memory. So remembering things like from 4 to 10-second memory. Yeah. So you see a lot of guys, myself included, that you say something and you forget what the hell you were talking about. You forget where you're going to land.
I'm not laughing. It's not funny, but because I know some of that. But let me put it back up, Gavin. Let me look at 2 broken jaws, 9 teeth knocked out, multiple separated right shoulder, multiple broken and bruised ribs every season, 5 surgeries with multiple pins in and out, broken dislocated elbow.
I tried to bring today.
I'm
so mad. So one of the things I'm really proud of that I keep, and I'm probably a little masochistic to say this or sadistic, whatever the correct word is. But after my early surgeries, I was able to start. You got so used to getting hurt or getting knocked out that you actually was able to do certain things. So I was able to save some of my teeth and stuff. And back in the late 80s is back when they started doing drug testing and stuff. So we used to do urinalysis and stuff for drugs and steroids. And so I would get called about every week for the steroid test. And if you look at that body, that MyChart body up there, you look at this body, this is not the most athletic lifting body. So if I did steroids, I got the wrong ones because I don't lift too good. And that's an embellished picture of my chest there too.
Well, let me give a shout out to a guy and his Dr. Burkeville, who was head of orthopedic at the Cleveland Clinic. Tell him Dr. Burkeville was amazing. When you remember
Dr. Burkeville did the first few surgeries on me. And matter of fact, was one of the first guys, actually for one of the first docs. I probably had a half dozen team docs in the league, but he was one of the only team docs that talked to me about the pain and the painfulness that you could get long term of doing opiates and pain pills. He's one of the few NFL docs who actually pushed you away from that
Great
stuff.
Great guy.
But you know what? But when I see those, you getting like the surgeries like that, and the injuries like that, and I think about like how medicine has gotten better or supposedly gotten better and stuff, and it's really important now, and it's how we could take care of ourselves. And like for myself to have kind of figured out some health and holistic things to not end up back in the hospital and stuff, because this is what's happening. We said this a couple podcasts ago. For guys who have played more than 7 years in the league, there's a stat that says the life expectancy is 57, 58 years old. So figuring out healthy ways to be able to get ourselves and to alleviate some of that stuff. I didn't wear a mouthpiece because my mentor at the University of Miami, Jim Kelly, didn't wear one. He ended up with the mouth cancer too. You know, I ended up with a version of that type of with a tumor in there too. Because of some of the things that he went through in front of me, I was able to maybe learn some of the things not to do. And I say jokes, you know, on here about like the CBD and the juice and stuff, but how you're able to stay away from certain medicines, how you're able to get yourself healthy holistically yourself. It's imperative that all of us, you know, spend that time together and spend that commitment towards helping each other out.
So, BK, what you're saying is you recommend that a lot of these kids, they wear that mouthpiece, even though you didn't do it.
Oh, yo, absolutely, absolutely. Wearing the mouthpiece, taking and it's not. We used to tell the joke. We used to tell the concussion joke about how we used to the finger test. They wouldn't put up one finger because it's too easy. They wouldn't put up 3 fingers because you may miss it. It'd always be put up 2. And I'd say the joke, you know, hey, and I'd always, before they'd even put the fingers up, I'd say, hey, it's 2. I know I'm not concussed. Well, you know what? That was kind of a macho, cool thing to do. Now, as I get older now, I'm suffering some of the long-term effects of it. For younger kids out there, you don't want them to suffer through those type of things. You know, going from teenager now to making it to the late 50s, early 60s. There's some darker times that I know I went through that some of our fellow brothers that are in their 30s and 40s that they have to go through. We don't want to see any of our guys go through that type stuff.
And we could barely make it through all of these. I mean, there were so many we didn't even mention, with all 5 fingers broken and dislocated, the ACL, the MCL, the right ankle broken 3 times, all 5 toes broken.
Yeah, you know what? I wish I wanted to come today. I was so back. The rules have changed a little bit in the surgery world. I actually was able to keep some of the pins that were in my hands and some of the pins and the screws that were in my ankle that took out. So in that urinalysis thing that you used to take for your if you were on steroids or drugs, which they used to have me take all the steroid tests because they knew I didn't take them.
You was clean.
But I have, and I kept. I'm going to look for a house. I'm in my house. I'm going to bring it out for one of these podcasts. In that, I had about a half dozen of the teeth that got knocked out. I saved those. And then
I don't think I want to see that.
Well, that's not exactly the most hygiene thing. But
I don't think I want to see.
Have you ever literally seen the screws that they put in you? Like I had the screws taken out. I broke my ankle against the Dolphins in a Monday night game. I had 6 screws put in my ankle. I asked the doc. Actually, I asked Doc Bergfeld that if I could keep them. If I could keep them when I came out. So he said, no, I'm not going to take them out. And then down when I was with the Dolphins, Dr. Uribe, the guy who screwed Tua and the concussion stuff, took him out, and I ended up keeping them. So to end up literally keep the screws that were in your body is kind of maybe a badge of courage and stuff. But it's the exact same stuff we're using to build the new big place studios. They put in our bodies.
Bernie, where do you keep those? Are they on the mantle or?
Yeah, they're on the mantle, and somebody moved the damn things. I couldn't find them this morning, bro. I was looking like my CTE made me forget where the hell they're at.
You know, speaking of that broken ankle on Monday Night Football, that was 1992 against the Dolphins. And, of course, Browns playing the Dolphins in Miami next week. We are actually going to throw it back. We have some footage of that game.
Yeah, Bernie,
let's take a look at this.
This is you, 1992 Monday Night Football.
So this was the second game of the year. And the first series of the game, back then Monday Night Football started at 9 o'clock, so it's like 10 after 9. And the first series of the game, the inside linebacker for the Dolphins, John Offerdahl, rolls my ankle, and I hear the snap, dog, and it's snapped.
You knew it was broken.
I knew it was broken, but like it I was massively slow for all the listeners out there. We've talked about this on the podcast. So whether we have a good turf or we have the baseball infield right there that I'm running on, I was massively slow, good ankle, broken ankle or not. So I didn't take my shoe off and I didn't take my tape job off because I knew if I did, it would swell up and stuff. And then once it swells up,
it's over.
It's over. You really can't play. And it was the first Monday night game of the year. It's the second game of the year. It's our first home game. There's like no way on God's earth I want to wake up on Tuesday morning and find out that it wasn't broken, yet I left the game. So
were you saying your prayers right here?
Well, you know what? That was after the touchdown, and this was in the fourth quarter. I am absolutely praying there because it hurt so damn bad. And I made it to the fourth quarter, and I asked, you're never more religious than you are on the football field, at least me. So growing up as a Catholic from Northeast Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio, you're every single religion that's out there. And you'll pray to any God that you think could help you at that current moment.
Well, not only you see it all the time, too. Baseball players, pretty much before they make a play, every time they go up, pitchers, before they make a pitch, they always, they're always praying. So, yeah.
Now, Bernie, look at your footwork on this touchdown pass. That is with the broken ankle.
Sideways.
Yeah, that's probably midnight already. Yeah. I broke it like 3 hours earlier. It was massively hurting. I mean, literally, I joked today. I have minimal athleticism. I have zero dance moves, but I do look like I'm trying to have swag and a little dance moves and stuff because you can't walk straight. As a matter of fact, if I give in my old days when I was drinking and the cops pulled you over and they said walk a straight line, I may have not been genuine in what I said. But now, if you ask me to walk a straight line, even in sobriety, there's zero chance of being able to walk right now.
Well, you could tell it's hurt because you could see the limp with you moving, but you could tell you're gutting it out. It's what we call it. You just determined to stay on the field,
well, you never want to. I mean, the concussion stuff you never wanted to leave, and I don't recommend this for young kids. It's not. I mean, I basically made it through it, but there were some dark times with it. But that was 1992 on a Monday night game. And you talk about I talk about not wanting to come out of the game, and it's reminded me like I don't really golf now, and it's not again an excuse to show the Super Bowl ring, but like that's as straight as my right arm goes right there, and it's off by about like 6 inches and stuff. And if you remember, like I'm supposed to 1988 season opener at Kansas City. And I got my hand grabbed as I went to throw. So my hand stopped, but my elbow kept going. So these bones kind of popped out. Popped out in the game. It's a friggin' first quarter. So that was a 1 o'clock game. And then you panic, and you knock the bones back in. Well, you're basically in shock and stuff. Yeah. But back then, the hygiene and leaving the field, and never were allowed to take our uniform off.
Unheard of.
And then get redressed. So
Unheard of.
There's only 2 quarterbacks dressed. So here I am, my elbows hanging out, and you have to wait till after the game because I had to still be the emergency quarterback.
Yeah.
So you wait, the elbow pops out. This is my sweet spot for throwing a spiral on that. But then, you have to wait 4 hours, so then the staph infection sets in, and you deal with it.
You didn't have a choice. You had to play. I mean, that's the way we go. That's the way we do it. You got to play. Everybody's accountable. You got to go.
Well, we went, and I will say we won 6-3. Okay, and I'm going to say though that was those press top dogs. Okay, so thank you and Mighty Mini for shutting down those guys. Okay, I wasn't very contributing that day.
We do appreciate your swag limp of today. That is very undetectable, honestly, but I think that you have some pretty good dance moves. Okay.
That's for another podcast.
That's for another podcast. It is truly crazy when we look at your chart to see how right now in this day and age you are doing pretty well,
Yeah.
And like you said, I think a lot goes into it with your all natural, all the homework you've done and all the doctors you've consulted. Just real quick before we move on, how do you think the NFL has accommodated for athletes post-playing careers, or maybe not?
Well, Gab, that's amazing. Is and it's almost like we overly rehearse this. The NFL's been torture on us. They're really almost waiting for us to die. Too many of our brothers are dying, and unfortunately, too many of our younger brothers are dying right now with these injuries and stuff. And I talk about the foundation that I started, community at the core, and the community of our Northeast Ohio people, the community of us Browns fans is awesome. It's part of what I think is part of our lifelong love for our Cleveland Browns and stuff. But there's also that community and that brotherhood of us players. And again, I don't want to overly compliment you, Top Dog, but you look great. You're doing great. You sound great.
Thank you.
So many of our other brothers aren't doing as good physically and or financially, and it's important for us. I think the community of us NFL players. And again, this isn't about just dogging the NFL, but the NFL is not going to help us. They're not going to help you out there if you're listening. If you're listening to this podcast and you're a player, if you're a player's wife, if you're the child of a player, an ex-player, please, there's not hope. There's not help. There's not hope nor help if you're going down the path of the NFL with that. Us players have to help each other, and this is not a sales pitch to sell product or anything. Matter of fact, there's not products. This is a lifestyle of just trying, almost a responsibility of letting people know and letting some of our other players and some of our brothers know that there are natural, holistic options that you need to do so that some of the pain that we're going through, physically it's one thing. And I look at that MyChart stuff out there, and I like to just leave it at that and say that it's all physical pain and stuff. But unfortunately, the stuff at the top of that picture with the 22 plus concussions, the broken jaws, the 15 seizures that aren't even up there. There's a whole mental illness, a mental depression side of it that comes along with that for us guys, us players. And it's not easy. It's not fun. I'm not proud to want to talk about that. I know none of us want to talk about that. But if we're able to talk about that and we're able to find some help, I know for myself, if we could help you guys find it, we're there for you.
It's ironic, too, because we were talking about your ankle Monday Night Football against the Dolphins, and now Cleveland, we're playing the Dolphins, and a guy who's really been through it, Tua. We've chatted about him on the podcast before. We are going to...
This is so fun. And Tua, we're talking about my medical stuff. I finished with the Dolphins with the same doctor that Tua had as he was taken off.
Is that the one they got rid of?
Yeah, Dr. John Uribe. He was my doc down there at the Dolphins at the end, and then was doing that with Tua with that, and to see how he's handling it, because I mask it. You guys could have saw this a little bit in the first podcast or two. The fencing, we talked about this a couple of podcasts ago, the midbrain trauma where you get paralysis, whether it's in the inability to communicate and get a thought from your brain to your mouth, or the peripheral paralysis of like fingers and toes, and that inability to move or have cognitive ability. Yeah, that happens with the sex players. To see that happen with Tua, and then to see some of the same medical stuff that was done to me and stuff, and knowing what hell my life was in the 40s and stuff, I just don't want to see that for a young man like that.
Yeah, boy, he's coming back strong, though.
He really has looked really good since we saw that scary shot of him that was circulating around the internet. And since the Browns are going to Miami to face the 6-3 Dolphins, by the way, they're 6-1 when Tua is playing. We're going to actually take a look.
Actually, I think when Tua starts and finishes, they win.
Yeah.
There we go.
So we're not, again, I'm saying this in the spirit of levity, but you don't want them to finish. And when you have these type injuries, these type concussions, the sad thing with the ones I had up there, and I played with some awesome quarterbacks, and boy, once you start getting one concussion, you start getting multiple ones, and the subsequent ones come easier than the ones you just got. So Tua he's played great the last couple of weeks, but he's still basically 6 weeks out of two significant concussions.
Yeah.
We are going to take a look at some of their plays over, their win from Chicago yesterday. We've got a little.
Yeah, and we want to take a look and say, what can the Browns do as we head to Miami against Tua and that Dolphins defense? And look at that graphic. The Dolphins are going with us.
That's pretty cool. I love it.
All right, let me tee you guys up here.
So let's take a look at some of these plays. So Justin Fields.
So as we're looking at these plays as it's starting to roll, just macro-wise, you could think about Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears offense. They have now, for the first time, I think, since like 1951 or something, they have rushed for 225 yards in 4 straight games. You can see Justin Fields, I think he ran for like 178 yards yesterday.
Playing well.
They are doing run the ball and bootleg type throws, almost like
we do.
Browns.
Yeah.
So you could almost see in this Dolphin defense, somewhat similar defense, I believe, that we could be seeing against our Browns this upcoming Sunday. And one of the things that the Dolphins defensive coordinator is going to lose his mind is he cannot let the quarterback break contain like this on a bootleg play like this.
Well, and you can see it right here, number 15. Instead of him taking care of his own business, what he's supposed to be doing, you're exactly right, BK. He let Fields get outside of him. You can't do that. You can't let him break containment, because if he'd took care of his business, that play would have been done for a loss.
So do you think you foresee the Browns running these formations against the Dolphins? Even being light on tight end?
Big time.
Yeah, okay.
Big time, because if you look at it, you look at our offense and all the bootlegs that we run with our offense, this is pretty much just like one of them, just like you said.
Yeah, just like and the Miami Dolphins playing. They have a pretty good defense, but their defense is ranked 25th in the NFL, and they, like the Cleveland Browns, they talk about down in Miami that one of the Achilles heels of the defense is stopping the run. So we need to give them a steady dose of the running game, and their way of stopping the run is bringing extra guys up in the box like that. So if they have to bring that 8th man up in the box in a 2-back, or that 7th man up in the box in a 1-back formation, then you're absolutely they're going to be anticipating some of the bootleg stuff that we run.
Bernie, as a quarterback, what's the key to a good play action? Like, you look at that one, that obviously he got out of that and got a touchdown. When you were in the game, what were some of the things you focused on when doing play action?
Okay, that was a gorgeous, super gorgeous play action fake by Justin Fields. So I'd like to say I wanted, in my brain, I thought I could look that pretty out there. I was not as pretty as he is. That's as gorgeous as it is. Now, I still would want to crush the defensive end, number 15 here for the Dolphins, for being wrong. But that's a beautiful, beautiful play action fake.
It was such a good fake, where what he did was he hid the ball in his left hand, and his right hand was, and made the linebacker think, or the defensive end, whichever it was, made him think that the running back had the ball, and that's how he was able to get outside of it.
And just like I say to young quarterbacks, and just like I'm going to look at the camera right here, and I tell young quarterbacks, when you're doing pass plays and you're doing your drops, okay, don't look down at your feet. Look up. Look out through the goalposts and stuff. Look down the field. I could see Dave Big Play to my right over here. I see Top Dog here to my left, but I'm still looking up like that. On that play action fake they did, I love how Justin Fields uses his eyes, uses his head. Look at in the play action how he uses his hand, like Hanford says, and then lets his head go backwards, almost like now you're looking at the back.
A little frisky here. Okay, I see you, big dog. I see you. I like it.
That attention to detail, man. How you do little things is how you do all things. Because number 15 for the Dolphins gets yelled at. He knows he has contained. He knows Justin Fields is a running quarterback. He knows that play is a possibility. Yet he still took the cheese. He still took the bait.
Yeah, and you know what I think when I look at this? I'm not worried about our offense. I think our offense is going to be able to score on their defense. The thing that worries me, our defense have to play well again, because when you look at those guys on their offense, they put points on the board. They score. They put points on the board.
And Hanford, let's talk about that on the defensive side of the ball, because before the show we were talking, they've got 2 burners down in Miami. Tyreek Hill we're queuing up this play. Tua with a big play to Tyreek Hill. Hanford, break down the coverage. What can the Browns do here to stop a burner like Tyreek?
Well, it's going to be really, really difficult because when you look at this formation, they pretty much have trips to one side. And then you got, you talk about the other burner, you're talking about Waddle, who is the other burner. But you see how they have the three wide receivers right there. They have one on the line of scrimmage, two outside the line of scrimmage. What they're trying to do is they're trying to cause some confusion with the defensive backs right there, not knowing who's going to take who and leave one of those guys open, and exactly what they did. What you're going to see is you're going to see number 10 right here. See how he hesitates right at the line of scrimmage? Wait till the receiver come up and make contact on the defensive back, and then he loops around on the side just like he is, just enough room where guys like Bernie with those perfect arms can put it right in there. See the confusion they're trying to cause with the three defensive backs, and that's and they're able to do that.
And look at how, again, you're looking at Tyreek Hill with already over 1,100 yards receiving. I mean, he has more yards receiving than Amari and Donovan People-Jones
together
combined, with 970 and stuff. But one of the things that I love from the release standpoint is how Tyreek Hill, yes, he takes his time, but look at how he's getting up the field a little bit there. And now, this has been a pet peeve of mine through the course of the year, not just with our team, but with all teams. He's the third receiver inside there. If you let Tyreek Hill get off the line of scrimmage without a jam like that, you have to get your hands on him in those first 5 yards. Like if you allow him just to get 3-4 yards downfield in that traffic, and then he could turn his jets on, that is what's going to happen to you. You have to, right, Hanford, attack him at the line of scrimmage. You talked about this beautifully last week, how you got to keep your balance and your feet in position. But, my God, you got to get your hands on him. If you're going to let Tyreek Hill get up on the safety like that.
And I'll just say this. They don't call him a cheetah for nothing. I mean, this guy, you're talking about fast, and he just gets faster and faster and faster. But you have to get your hands on him. I agree with you 100%. But that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to confuse us, and what we have to do is we have to get up, we have to get a jam on the wide receiver to take away some of that speed.
Yeah, Bernie, did you ever have a guy who you knew was just faster than everyone else, and how'd you utilize him?
You know what? I was big on the releases like that. So I hate to keep saying, hey, when I played and stuff, but my God, I wish they coached this poorly. Defense when I played where they didn't jam number 2 and number 3, because I would have flown my receivers at the safeties all day long with that. What I'm thinking about, though, for us this week, and why 2 is the NFL leading quarterback right now, and he had like 135 quarterback rating in this game this past Sunday, is they're really doing and I'm not saying this derogatory, but they're really kind of doing the college offense RPO model as good as anybody right now. I really like Mike McDaniels and what he's doing offensively.
Well, he's being creative.
Schematically. God, I brag about Coach Stefanski and his personnel groups and his motions and shifts, what he does from that creative side of it. Mike McDaniels is, unfortunately for us Cleveland Browns, is nailing it in what he's doing and his play calling, his personnel groups, and his motions and shifts. What they do in the RPO game puts the line, the linebackers, and those safeties in a real tough spot, because half these big plays to Cheetah, Tyreek Hill, and to Jalen Waddle, these are running plays that they're getting in that second level at 8 to 10 yards, and Tua is masterfully accurate with his play action passes.
BK, do you know McDaniels? Have you met him? What type?
I just know him a little bit.
Okay,
I really
want
to know.
I like to know what makes him tick.
Yeah, what makes him tick? Because he kind of has also that super cool personality. You could tell he loves his guys, and his guys love him.
Yeah, exactly where I was headed with that one.
Speaking of Waddle, we're going to take a look at their other big weapon here. We got another play queued up for you here.
Yeah, and Waddle, 812 yards this season. Another burner, Hanford, like we talked about. When you look at Waddle, break this down. What could our Browns cornerbacks be doing from a technique perspective to slow these guys down other than what you said?
Boy, you could tell he is just, you're exactly right. He is a burner. I mean, we're talking about a kid out of the University of Alabama that have come directly to the pros and have not missed a beat. And Tua does a pretty good job right here with the bootleg, and all these guys are doing a really good job with the bootleg right now.
Yeah, they're really their play action, their faking is
and
masterful.
normally when you're doing,
we need to have the Dan Marino face.
Yeah, because what's happening is normally with the bootleg, you're worried about somebody hitting you, and boy, they're not even worried about it. They are faking so good that they turn right around, nobody's in their face, and they're able to get that ball off. But Waddle, man, you just you got to get up on him. You cannot let him go. He's another one. I don't know who's the fastest. I would think Hill is a little bit faster than he is, but both of these guys have tremendous speed, and they both catch the ball really, really well. And you're going to have to get on him, and you're going to have to jam him. You can't be afraid of him. You got to go at him.
A couple of coaching points on this for the younger listeners or younger coaches out there. This isn't an RPO. This is a called boot because you could see none of the O linemen go downfield. You see, typically you don't want to throw the ball across your body for a right-handed quarterback going right, throwing back left across your body, left-handed quarterback going left, throwing back to the right. Yet Tua does it there, and he's actually throwing to the third receiver here, which is a lot of traffic in there. I don't recommend this as a long-term strategy for offensive success, but for what Waddle does here, on top of his awesome speed that he does,
comes back.
Man, exactly,
Comes
top
back.
dog.
Yeah.
Like that should be a pick. There.
He understands what the traffic that he's throwing the ball in,
the receiver bailed me out
Yeah.
as a quarterback.
Yeah.
He bailed me
Yeah.
out there because he comes back hard. I mean, that should be a pick. If I'm the D coordinator, I want to eat number 9 for not picking that ball off. Yeah. So for Waddle to come back like that, for finesse fast receivers, you typically don't see this aggressiveness.
Young receivers.
He's coming back.
Yeah.
That's his football.
Yeah.
I love seeing that. That actually, unfortunately, makes it even that much tougher for our defensive backs this week.
So gut feeling, heading down to Miami, how do you think we look off the bye week?
Boy, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because I feel a lot better if we had them here. But this is a game I think we have to have. We're going into Miami. We're going into the Lions' Den, as we call it. And they're playing well right now. I mean, offensively, they're putting a lot of points on the board. I think defensively, offensively, we can do some things against their defense, but we've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. I think that's a big, big plus. So we should know everything that we need to know about these guys, and we should know how to attack them. And I think it's going to be a very, very exciting game, and a game that I think we definitely have a shot at winning.
Yeah, I think, too, that the Dolphins have somewhat defensively. Last year, a lot was talking about Brian Flores and their coach and what happened, and with them actually trying to possibly lose games a couple years ago. But Brian Flores was a defensive coach. They had a really sweet defense last year. They are still better than their 25th ranking right now. But like the Browns, they have having trouble in stopping the run.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that continues.
Yeah.
We don't want to try to be too cute too early with them down there and get into a throwing game with the Tyreek Hills and Jalen Waddles like that. So a steady dose of our physical presence to establish that early, especially when you're playing on the road, I think is imperative for this game.
And I am just taking notes over here because I'm getting ready to bet this game as we head into of the bye week. It's time for some big play bets.
Let's do it.
We've been doing another solid week there.
I think we are nailing it.
Yeah, so sports gambling is coming to Ohio. It'll be here before we know it. We're going to have a big announcement here probably by next week. For those sports book deals. You see all of those out there. Hold off another week. We will be bringing something to you very soon. Let's look at some of these bets for the week. Our 1, 3, and 5-star bets. Gab, let's go with the 1-star first. We've got Saints at Pittsburgh. Saints, it's right around +2.5, +3. Who are we taking in this one?
Well, I'll give you a chance to think about it.
You go ahead. I'm gonna let you jump on this one first.
As much as I always like to root against the Steelers, I do have my ultimate respect for Coach Tomlin and stuff. So, I'm a Steeler guy.
Well, you know what? I am going to agree with you because I think what's going to happen is tonight Baltimore is going to beat up on the Saints, so that's going to have them down a little bit, and they're going. That game is in Pittsburgh, correct?
Yeah, in
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
I'm going to stick with you, partner. I'm gonna go with the Steelers too. Don't want to.
It's nice. Hey, it's nice for the first time in a century to actually pick the Steelers, and we actually hope they win because it isn't going to affect the playoff picture one bit at all.
We've been waiting a long time to say that. All right, let's look
I don't think we've said that since the 80s.
Not since you've played, Bernie. Let's look at the 3-star bet of the week. We have the Browns and we're actually going to go Vikings and Bills. Vikings plus 7.5.
Ooh.
In Buffalo.
You want to go first, partner?
Well,
and this is Kirk Cousins coming off of the airplane trip. If you saw that video,
I saw the Kirk Cousins dancing, and I love that routine of dancing. I don't quite have those steps. I love how Josh Allen, I know that wasn't what he wanted us to do in the game against the Jets last week. I love how he answered that when he played a bad game and how he dove on his sword and said how he basically sucked. I love him as a quarterback. I think that the Vikings have played over their heads, so I'm still a Buffalo guy.
I think because the Vikings are 7-1, I think the Bills. I think the Bills need a get right game, and they were embarrassed. They were pretty much embarrassed, and I agree with you. I think the Bills are going to come back, and they're going to be ready to go.
The great coach Bill Parcells used to say, "Careful when you become a fat cat."
Yeah.
And not that Minnesota is, but it's 7-1.
Yeah.
They've got to be happy with themselves, and careful of the team that has something to prove. And Josh Allen and the Bills, I think, will have something to prove after last week's game.
All right, let's look at our 5-star bet of the week.
Come on, I'm ready.
Come on, David, you get a twinkle in your eye, man. We're gonna play Aaron Rodgers to the grave. Okay?
We've got Cowboys heading to Green Bay. Cowboys minus 4.5.
Well, I'm going to look at this one, and I'm going to swip I'm going to go with the Cowboys. I think they're hungry. I think they're playing well right now. Green Bay, even though they're playing at home, I think there's a lot of problems on that football team. I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
Okay. Jerry Jones, I love you. Thank you for my Super Bowl ring. I love how the Cowboys are playing. But going on the road, and I'm an old school quarterback. God, Aaron Rodgers, this almost like our Cleveland Browns game before the Monday night against the Bengals, where it was basically a make or break game, a season defining type game. The Packers may already have had that season-defining game at 2-6. If they go home and go to 2-7 and lose, that's for sure. The coffin is nailed to those guys. So I think Aaron Rodgers and his just will to not want to cash in his season at Week 9 is too strong.
All right, I'm going to give you an over-under bonus one here. Browns-Dolphins, Bernie. We love taking the overs. 49 points in this game. Too rich for us, or do you think we can get the over?
I'm a big, massive over guy. I've been doing massively good success with the overs. But both this week, though, I don't like to ever say the under. So if I do feel the under, I stay away from it and stuff. But really, both teams' defenses struggle against the run, and this needs to be. Both teams need to establish the running game in this. And when you have two strong running teams like this, the game tends to go faster, and you tend not to get as many points. So I'd be afraid of that almost 50.
All right, yeah. And Hanford, what do you think?
I'm going to go with the under too.
Okay,
I can't see it. I think even though both of these teams can put points on the board, we know Miami can put some points on the board. I just don't see it. I'm going to go with the under, too. So.
All right, and 2 quick hitters because we've got Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. Sunday night, if you have to pick Chargers at 49ers, who are you going with?
I'm going with 49ers.
49ers at home.
Yeah, you know what? I love Justin so much. I've been so on the John Carroll West, the L.A. Chargers. I love them so much. But, boy, they have just underperformed this year and underplayed, and they slopped out a fortunate game this past Sunday. So Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, I like how their physicalness.
All right, and last one, Commanders heading to Philly for Monday Night Football.
Come on.
Jalen Hurts.
Have you lost your mind? Have you lost your mind? Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Roll, Eagles, roll.
I want to say the Bill Parcells line again. The fat cats have a chance to get too happy and stuff. But and I love Ron Rivera, man. We used to play against him with the '85 Bears. Okay, but that's an Eagles day.
Eagles.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Fly, Eagles, fly.
All right, gang. Well, we've been everywhere today. How about
where else you want to go?
We gotta wrap this up. 2-minute warning. How about it? And you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Let me roll the video.
Well, let me. I gotta jump real quick on my 2-minute warning. We got the halfway point of the year. We don't want to be. The expectation of being 3-5 wasn't what it was when we started, but we had said this multiple times. The division, the conference, the NFL parity is there. Let's go on a run in the second half.
Well, I'm gonna start on you a little bit because when you look at this ball game coming up Sunday between the Dolphins and the Browns, if I'm not mistaken, looking at both of these teams, obviously you're pretty much born in Cleveland or just outside of Boardman, Ohio. Just outside of Cleveland, and you played for the Dolphins also, and but Big Dog, I just want to know your loyalties this week. I want to know. I just want to know. Talk to me. How you feel about this ball game? Because one part of you have your little Dolphins, and then hopefully the majority of you is with those Orange and Brown.
You know what? As you're saying that there, Top Dog, hey, as you're saying that, seriously, I'm getting goosebumps, a little kind of emotional. It is cool as you get older and stuff. I'm not sure when I was younger, I really appreciated the magnitude of playing in the NFL. And now to be at an NFL game and you have played quarterback for both those teams, it's absolutely super cool for me. My allegiance are up here. We could, if we had to do it percentage-wise, I guess we would do of my 12-year career, 9 years was up here, so at least got 75% of me up here with it. But the medical stuff that happened here in Cleveland that we were talking about so much on the show today. So much of that ended down there with some of the medical stuff that happened to me. And to see that we're playing them this week, I played for both teams, and we had that Bernie Kosar MyChart up there. And just to be sitting here, decently healthy, knowing what happened like that, it's actually super proud. Super proud.
Well, good show, partner.
Sounds good, my man.
You got it.
Hey, we're gonna be 4 wins.
I think we are.
Let's get
it. You got it.
Keep the streak up, man.
You got it.
You matter. Go Browns.